The euphoria of uploading a video, a photo, or a story and seeing how the likes and comments pile up by the heaps. It's the, let's say, new drug of the younger ones. Being aware of the opinion of others and the approval of thousands of anonymous people has led influencers to risk their own life to maintain that constant tension. But how far can a person go to stay trendy? Well, we're going to see this in today's video. The song For the Last Time, ironically named in Spanish For the Last Time, was the last song recited by Arina Glazunova, 27 years old, before tragically losing her life. Arina was a young Russian influencer known on TikTok for her lifestyle content and viral challenges, which had made her a well-known person within the digital community. But everything has a price, and keeping followers happy and satisfied can be dangerous. On Friday, September 27th of the year 2024, Arina was walking down the street with her friend singing, "No, one, I'm not waiting for you, but you should know that one loved you for the last time, for the last time." That's what the lyric said. Then the young woman looks at the camera of her friend's phone without realizing where she was stepping. Distracted as she repeats this phrase, the phone turns to her friend and her eyes open in horror as she sees Arina disappear. The young woman's screams can be heard in the video before the screen goes completely white. The TikToker fell at the entrance of a subway station in Moscow, a staircase that opened up in the ground without bars and without signage. Her fall was 5 meters and caused a fracture at the base of her skull and neck. The girl was rushed to the hospital but could not be revived due to her injuries. The accident was recorded and went viral on social media, sparking debates about the risks of creating content. On the other hand, many local residents expressed their concern about the lack of signage at the subway entrance, a latent danger for pedestrians. Some even called on authorities to take action to prevent future tragedies. The tragedy also quickly became a topic of conversation on the internet, where thousands of users expressed their sorrow for the young woman's death, while at the same time questioning the limits of risky maneuvers to gain views and followers on platforms like TikTok. Her loss stirred up considerable controversy, with opinions split on the matter. Some saw it as a warning of the dangers of social media. Others pointed out the lack of respect for the young woman's memory by sharing the clip of her last moments of life, filling the comment boxes with quite cruel opinions and demonstrating the lack of empathy that exists on social media. Although the woman did not see where she was stepping, and that led her to a tragedy. It is also true that a well of those characteristics that has no protection could have led anyone to their end. In other words, it was an accident. Unfortunately, it took a tragedy to raise awareness of the dangers of poor street signage, which we hope the government will do something about. Along with the subway, a street monument was erected to commemorate the loss of Arina, a young woman who spent her last moments smiling and singing. The aspiration to gain more followers and more likes on social media leads to more and more influencers exposing themselves to extreme danger. And this was the case with the 23-year-old Indian influencer Sharad Kumar, who met a tragic end while filming himself posing next to the Arasinagundi waterfalls located in India. On July 23rd of the year 2023, Kumar was trying to take a good photo for his TikTok profile to evidently gain more followers. However, his ambition led him to tragedy. And just like that, in an instant, the young man lost his balance, slipped, and the imposing current swept him into deep waters. It took specialists a week to find his body next to a rock located about 100 meters from the point where he fell. After his end, the moment when Kumar disappeared into the strong current amid the desperate screams of his companion went viral on several X accounts. Unfortunately, this boy's case was not the only one. In fact, 2 years earlier, Sophia Sheung, a 32-year-old from Hong Kong, experienced a very similar tragedy. She was an influencer who used to take photos in various landscapes around the world, often in risky places, which gave her the most likes. Like Kumar, she also slipped into the void, ending her young life. The woman used to take very daring photos, to call it some way, often climbing steep mountains or peering from the heights of various cliffs. Life should be fun, Not silly, that's what she wrote on her Instagram profile. Although, well, this was not very smart. Where, by the way, she had more than 6,000 followers. Obviously, what she didn't know was that this risk-filled life would end in tragedy from one day to the next. And on the morning of Saturday, July 14th, 2021, the influencer was with 3 friends visiting Hapai Klai Park, a wildlife habitat located near the city of Yuanlong in Hong Kong, when she decided to take some photos at a waterfall located in a place known as Pineapple Mountain, very popular among tourists, which would be in English, Pineapple Mountain. As one was telling you, Sophia could already imagine the number of reactions the photo in question would have, so she climbed to the top of this waterfall on a cliff about 5 meters high. Sophia was trying to take a picture when she lost her balance and fell into the void. Her terrified friends called emergency services, who arrived quickly and took the Instagrammer to the hospital. However, there was nothing they could do and she was declared dead. The fall had been completely fatal. Her last photo on Instagram was posted on Friday, July 9th of the year 2021, and in this post she wrote, "Better days are yet to come." They are called Saturday and Sunday. The post, in which the Instagrammer is seen with a surfboard at the edge of the sea, became a place where many of her followers came to write words of pain and farewell for the unfortunate influencer, who, while some risked their lives for a fantastic photo that could look good on their profile, something as simple as a photo with your partner on a dream vacation could also be fatal. And why am one telling you this? Well, because Andrea Mazzetto was a young one-Italian businessman of 30 years who was enjoying with his girlfriend Sara Bragante a trip to the Asiago Plateau, an important tourist area of his country. So Sara and Andrea had been together for 6 months and had plans to live together. In addition, they had already talked about having children. Unfortunately, their dreams were shattered on the morning of Saturday, August 22nd, 2022, when they decided to hire a small excursion to the Noto altar. At the end of the road, they arrived at a short walkway. In that place, there was a cliff that Andrea decided to climb. The young businessman always took these kind of, let's say, small risks because he liked to feel the adrenaline, unlike his wife who suffered from vertigo and kept distance from the cliff. However, that fateful day, Andrea urged her to climb with him. And although she didn't want to, she let herself be convinced, and from up there they took some pictures, not knowing they would be their last memories together. Then the young man asked his girlfriend to pose on the edge of the rock. The fact of being at such a height caused her nausea and dizziness. Vertigo overcame her. She turned pale. Her legs began to tremble. She was very afraid of losing her balance and falling into the void, but that was not her fate. Andrea took her hand firmly, dropping the phone among the bushes. The young man did not hesitate to try to recover it because all his work was there, the bills to pay and the company's documents. Sarah wanted to help him recover the phone, but there was something that forced him to stop, and at that moment he heard the voice of his mother, who died in the year 2018, telling him to stop. Go back before it's too late. Sarah was obviously scared and moved to the safe zone at the starting point. Meanwhile, Andrea, unwilling to give up, chose another point from which to try to rescue his cell phone. By that moment, she had heard him say that his foot was stuck, and as soon as he managed to free himself, the rock crumbled and slipped. The terrified woman peered over and saw her partner just a few meters away at the foot of a rock. She felt, let's say, relieved for a moment to see him safe. However, it didn't last many seconds because then her boyfriend rolled into the abyss, screamed one last time, and disappeared forever. The young man's body was finally found by firefighters and a rescue team. A few meters away, they also found the phone he was trying to recover and for which he had risked his life or for which he had lost his life. Feeling the vertigo and adrenaline can escalate to the point of becoming a skyscraper climbing influencer like Remy Lucidi, who was 30 years old. The young man was famous for climbing some of the tallest buildings in the world, recording videos that took his followers' breath away. The risk was always there and it ultimately cost him his life. A lover of acrobatics and extreme sports, these risk-addicted photographer's videos went around the world. He traveled the planet climbing onto the ledges of large buildings, cranes, bridges, any high structure that could lead to serious injuries or even a certain end. Indeed, that love for risk cost him his life. Lucidi was always pushing the limits to get the best snapshots, but he was always striving for more. The places were getting higher and more risky. Thus, on the 27th of July 2023, the young climber decided to climb up to the 68th floor of a Hong Kong skyscraper to record one of his risky videos. Then, on the edge of the precipice, Lucidi realized that a harsh truth. This time he was not going to come out unscathed and hanging from a beam. Being held up only by his hands, he tried to ask for help through a window of the attic of the complex. Although a woman saw him, there was no time to help him, and the young influencer fell into the void. When the police officers arrived at the rooftop, they found the camera with which Remy used to record himself and where his last moments of life were recorded. While in most cases they are young adults who risked their lives for the attention of internet users or due to a misstep or distraction, there are also the unfortunate cases of children who do not understand the severity and danger of the challenges that circulate on TikTok. This is what happened with Milagro Soto, who had an Instagram account where she posted reels dancing and doing choreographies of her favorite artists. However, her family was unaware of her presence on TikTok, the platform that would lead her to a tragic end. Milagro, a 12-year-old girl, was small, intelligent, and very polite. In March of the year 2023, she was going to start high school, but her future dreams were cut short when she was found lifeless in her father's house. Her family, consumed by grief, alleged that Milagros may have been a victim of a TikTok social network challenge and that she could have been possibly instigated to participate. While an adult might refuse to take part in a dangerous challenge, a young girl like her who is just starting to grow up and fears being left out would do anything for the acceptance of her friends or peers. The little girl then lived in Capitan Bermudez, which is a city in San Lorenzo within the Greater Rosario area. This is in Santa Fe. Her parents were separated, and that weekend she had gone to her dad's house. When the man noticed that the little girl wasn't responding, he forcibly entered her room and was confronted with the worst imaginable scenario for a father. Milagro had taken her life with a rope. According to the autopsy, her end came from mechanical asphyxiation. They confirmed there were no signs of abuse or third-party intervention in her end. From the horrible scene, they took her cell phone, in which they found the video of the sequence. The investigation finally led to the conclusion that supposed friends of Milagro had sent her a link to a video where they dared her to participate in a TikTok challenge that consisted of hanging herself to the point of almost becoming unconscious. The dangerous challenge involves fainting from lack of oxygen due to asphyxiation and then being able to share the experience on the video platform. A foolish challenge indeed.
The boys record themselves, make a video, or in this case a video call, and they have to try to hold their breath for as long as possible. In the case of Milagros,
according to the investigators, it would have been the third time the girl filmed herself doing it, but this time it was fatal. The little girl filmed everything, while her companions watched as her life slowly slipped away until she lost her life. In the face of such a hard loss, her family decided to speak to the media so that all parents are aware of what their children consume on social networks. Milagros was pushed to take on the challenge, showing that we are in a society where if you don't do something like this, you're not part of the group and you're a coward in what these children think or believe.
Apparently it was because of a TikTok game. Because of a TikTok game that she made three attempts in which two didn't work. She couldn't remove the shadow on the third one. She was a cheerful person, amazing, an excellent niece, granddaughter, daughter, a very studious girl, because we have nothing else to say, because here everyone knew her as the girl who smiled with those big eyes, but she was incredible.
We hope that this case does not end up in nothing and that awareness begins to be taken of the dangers that exist on the platforms that are at the service of those who are the most vulnerable, which are our children.
I'm having a great time relaxing in my chair, enjoying the sun. You may not know it, but I'm recording with my GoPro. I'll hopefully have a lot of videos posted soon, and yes, I'll see you later.
While many use the TikTok platform to generate trashy and meaningless content, more than giving a fleeting and forgettable laugh to their followers, there are also cases like that of the 18-year-old Canadian TikToker, Harrison Glicks, who lost his life on March 30th of the year 2023 as a result of a long and painful battle against cancer, which according to the family's testimony was in November of the year 2020 when he was diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a rare type of cancer that forms in soft tissues. Although the young content creator suffered from this terrible disease, he never stopped posting content constantly, regardless of whether he was hospitalized. His clips were very viewed and received many comments. The boy had a great impact on the platform and was an inspiration to many. His smile could light up a room and his laugh could cheer up anyone. He was the sun on a cloudy day for his family, to put it in some way. So Harrison always found the good in every situation and touched many lives with his messages of hope and encouragement through his TikTok videos, where he documented his journey in his fight against cancer, managing to accumulate 300,000 followers. From that content, his fans closely followed updates about his health condition. Unfortunately, in February of the year 2023, it was determined that it was already incurable, and from then on, Harrison promised to carry out all the adventures on his list for the remaining time he had left. These adventures were documented on his TikTok account, and his own community made sure they were possible. Thousands of strangers also donated significantly to his cause. Javison shared his latest videos related to his passion for sports. He visited Toronto, Montreal, Mexico City, New York, Tampa, and Los Angeles, where he watched various hockey and American football games. On March 21st, just 1 week before his end, the boy gave his last social media update to fans from a hospital bed. In his message, he indicated that the situation he was facing was not simple, especially because of how the cancer was acting in his body.
Pray for me and my family. It's been a great journey, guys, on the bucket list. One can make more videos, one just feels silly or something, one really don't know, we'll see.
Unfortunately, his followers had to accept the departure of just a young man he was. He had a whole long life ahead of him, but at least they took the consolation of doing a good deed by allowing him to fully live the last time of his life, not only for him but for his whole family, who carried those beautiful memories, or will carry rather those beautiful memories of Harrison forever in their hearts. The most interesting influencers, those who have more followers, are usually the ones who travel the world and introduce new cultures, let's say this in general. That was the case of the channel Fari Goes to Africa, which was managed by a Chinese citizen named Gan Zuyong, 29 years old, who decided to record his great adventure through the African continent. To an exorbitant amount of 5 million followers, Gan showed the food and culture of foreign countries. However, among so many admirers, there was one person who harbored a lot of resentment towards him and wanted to see him fall. Feng Yingsheng, 37 years old, was a Chinese citizen living in Nepal. Like Gan, he had his own viral channel. However, it was not as popular as his rivals, which gradually led him to accumulate a deep hatred for Gan due to multiple disputes and unresolved debts between them. When the famous street food blogger traveled to Nepal to continue his culinary journey, his enemy saw an opportunity to attack. On a Sunday in December 2022, the young man was live streaming with some friends at the bustling Indrashuk market in the capital of Kathmandu when he came face to face with Feng. Grant stopped abruptly and the laughter died down when he saw his rival pull out a sharp weapon and directly attack him. In the video, a series of sharp, anguished screams can be heard, followed by wild shaking of the cell phone before the screen goes black. A subsequent recording shows Gan visibly stunned, sitting in the middle of the street, covered in his own vital fluid, while in the background Feng can be heard insulting him in his native language. Still in shock from the unexpected attack, the blogger can be seen clutching his stomach where he was attacked and looking at the onlookers who are watching the scene in astonishment. At one point, Gunn gestures towards a phone, presumably indicating to the viewers to call for help. After a moment of tension, Gunn was finally taken to a hospital where, unfortunately, he lost the battle that same night due to stab wounds in the chest and stomach inflicted by his enemy. On the other hand, his friend Lee, who was also attacked in the stomach during the street assault, was hospitalized in critical condition. In this way, on December 4th, Feng was arrested on suspicion of taking Gunn's life and put in prison until his trial, which will likely lead to a long stay in prison. There may be many crimes out of envy or jealousy, especially when fame is involved, but the following case of crime, of homicide, hurts even more. Not only because it was a senseless ending, but also because the victim was a little girl of just 9 years old.
Hello guys, one have a tough story. Our neighbor is drunk, he's banging on our door, knocking it down. He's been calling here for a few minutes, one swear. I'm scared.
Felicia Kononchik lived with her parents, an older brother of 14 years and a younger brother of 4 years. In the city of Shita, this is in Russia, not much is known about Felicia, but her family and friends described her as cheerful, bright, and full of life. Felicia's presence brought joy and laughter to those around her. Unfortunately, her short life would be extinguished in an unfair way. The little girl was in the safety of her home when she heard knocks and screams at the door. Scared, her little brother hid in his room while Felicia immediately began to panic because she was without her father, who had gone to the store. Terrified, she took her phone and turned to social media to document what was happening and tried to get advice from people on what to do. In fact, in her TikTok videos, she warned her followers that something bad was happening. Apparently, it was her neighbor who was drunk. He was banging on the door. The ordeal lasted more than an hour.
When I'm with my little brother and my older brother, and we have people fixing the house here. Dad went to the store. One don't know what to do, he's going to knock down the door. I'm terrified, this is terrible. My heart is pounding.
A neighborhood friend contacted her and they agreed to meet in a nearby park, hoping to get out of that hell. Felicia anxiously awaited the arrival of her friend and cut the transmission. Shortly after, the silence returned and she thought the subject had left. What she didn't know was that it was just the eye of the storm, because tragically 15 minutes after posting her video on TikTok, little Felicia lost her life. The door swung open, but to her relief, it was her father who had returned from doing his shopping. Shortly after they knocked on her door again, the younger girl thought it was her friend coming to pick her up for a walk, so she opened the door without further ado. However, her face filled with terror when she saw it was her neighbor standing in front of her. That man who had been harassing the family took a rifle in his hands and fired several shots at the little girl. Although Felicia tried to close the door, the bullets penetrated the metal door and various parts of the house, and unfortunately one of them managed to hit her in the head. Upon hearing the terrible noise, her father ran to the door where he saw his daughter covered in vital fluid and took her in his arms. The little girl looked at her father one last time and said, "Dad, they took my life away," before she obviously passed away in his arms. When the ambulance arrived, it was, as one tell you, too late. The doctors couldn't do anything for her. Sometime later, her father posted a video showing the little girl inside an open casket at her funeral. On the other hand, the person responsible, who worked at a home goods store and who had a good relationship with his neighbors before the incident, confessed that he took her life because he was annoyed by the sound of repairs in his apartment. For such a foolish and senseless reason like this, a little girl's life was taken away. Now the individual will face life imprisonment if convicted, which is surely going to be the case. While some of these events were tragedies that slipped out of the victim's hands, most of these incidents highlight the increasing risks that many content creators face in their eagerness to stand out in an increasingly competitive and relentless digital market. The pressure to create more spectacular or impactful videos leads many to dangerous situations, as we realized in this video, which sometimes, as you know, have fatal consequences. These cases have reignited the debate about the responsibility of digital platforms in promoting content that often encourages dangerous behavior and how users, particularly young people, should be more aware of the risks they may run in search of popularity in the virtual environment. But what good is it to have a collection of likes if our life is at stake to get them? A good question, which is also important to take a few minutes and see where we stand in all of this. How many hours do we spend in front of screens? How much do other people's comments influence our lives? Are we really capable of anything for a fleeting tension?
Start poorly controlling cell phones because things are happening on social media that shouldn't be, that shouldn't exist. The only thing one knows is that one no longer have Milano with me. Can hug again, or nothing, one can't share anything with her again.
Remember that on Pepe Misterio's channel, on this channel, interviews are uploaded on Mondays. If you have a story you would like to tell, you can send me a message to my Instagram, which you can find as Pepe Misterio 1010, or to my email at email@pepemisterio.com.mex if you are anywhere in Mexico and one can go, or even if it's anywhere in the world, we can do it by video call.